Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Appraisal.
Welcome back. Long time no see, guys.
I'm Sam.
I'm Evan.
What do we got today?
Well, buddy, for our first video in quite a while, we decided to hit the ground running with the 1990s.
Yeah.
You guys gave us such a positive reviews and feedback on our 1980s top 5 videos. We decided to go ahead and go with the 90s. 90s has a lot of awesome horror. You know, even though we've gotten kind of out of the renaissance of the 80s.
There are some struggle years. We've looked ahead a little bit.
Yeah, there'll be some years that are tougher than others. But you know what, Sam? I think we've got a pretty awesome list going here to start off the year, start off the decade. You know, back when 1990, just when we were celebrating Batman in theaters the year before and everything else.
Reagan went to Bush. And,
yeah. No, it was 92.
Yeah.
No, it was 89. 89.
Yeah.
88. Whatever. We were little. 92 was Clinton. Sorry.
All right, so we're going to follow our similar format like we did with the 80s. Honorable mention and then top 5.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the honorable mention?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Shit happens.
Honorable mention for 1990 is Predator 2, and you're going to be like, what the crap, that's a great movie, and then some of you are going to be like, that's not horror, and that's exactly why we put it in honorable mention, because a lot of things probably couldn't compete with Predator 2, but it's an amazing film, it's got amazing gore and graphics, and it's just, it's the Predator, man, and it's fucking violent.
Listen, I would argue that, you know, you can't really classify it as a horror film, because I think you and I can both classify the first one. If you can classify Alien as a horror film, I think you can very easily classify Predator as a horror film, and then even though the sequel takes it in kind of another environment.
I think it's scarier.
Have you ever seen the beginning? Remember the beginning of that movie when all those bodies are hanging up in that loft and Danny Glover's like,
subway
what
scene. The subway scene.
Yeah, the subway
and
scene.
Danny Glover chasing it through the town and everything else, and like, you got Gary Busey. Got Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, get on out of here.
Gary Busey is no stranger. Gary Busey, of course, is no stranger to horror. But you know, I think Predator 2 is a really cool. You know, it was a mainstream film. Had a lot of cool acting. Yeah, had a lot of awesome effects. I love the effects.
You learn more about his weapons too. You got the scientist lady in the crime lab, and she's talking about like the metal that she can't. It almost has no weight.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know why I'm talking about Batman twice one thing, but like where in the second one you saw more of Batman's toys, and like this one you saw like all the Predator toys and everything else.
Good movie.
Very good movie. All right,
what's number 5?
Number 5 is a remake of a very classic film. Now I know what you're thinking, guys. Why'd you put a remake on here? Well, that's because it's a great film, actually. And you know, if a great film also has a great remake, it just shows how much it stands the test of time. And of course, we're talking about the Tom Savini directed version of Night of the Living Dead.
Who's in this thing?
Well, let's see. Patricia Tallman, of course, is Barbara.
I burped. I'm sorry.
It's bad. It's bad. Oh. It's like bologna. All your burps are like bologna, fried bologna.
I had mixed.
They all smell like bologna and hot dogs. Anyway,
Patricia Tallman.
Patricia Tallman.
Get it over with.
Loved her on Babylon 5. I mentioned that before. Of course, we have in the role of Tom. We have
You mean Ben?
I mean Ben. Yeah, whatever. We have Tony Todd playing the role of Ben, and we also have Bill Moseley playing the role of Johnny, the brother, the dipstick brother who's really kind of annoying at the beginning.
Praying's for church, all right?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? This film, Sam, I think this was a remake that happened like 22 years later after the original or so. Was original Living Dead like 68, 67?
Well, 68 was the original, yeah. It's weird to think that was 20 years.
Yeah, it was 22 years later, and
God.
And now the remake is 30. No,
28 years old.
28 years old. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, anyway. But, you know, it needed a remake, and, you know, Tom Savini, of course, who, there's no other man on earth who should be allowed to touch George Romero's work.
Well, and it's because Tom Savini wasn't able to work on the original Night of the
Yeah,
Dead.
he wasn't.
He wanted to pay homage, he wanted to do his thing with it because he was in Vietnam for the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and of course he worked on the other two classic films in the original trilogy. Of course, he worked on Dawn and Day of the Dead.
God, what a mark he left on those movies.
You know, I remember watching this movie, just like I remember watching a lot of these movies, on HBO with my dad. I remember my dad actually said after we watched this movie, we probably watched it when it came to HBO, like in 91 or 92. I remember my dad saying, "Yeah, the original was better." But you know what?
It's different.
It's different. That's the thing. Growing up, watching all these movies, I love the remake of Night of the Living Dead because it does give you a little bit more oomph. But it does not detract at all from the original. It still tells you the same kind of story. It gives you the same kind of social standards.
It pays respect.
Absolutely. I love Night of the Living Dead.
All right, number 4. Baby Blood is a French film that we saw. And
ever heard of that one?
We probably forgot a lot about it.
Yeah.
But we skimmed over it again. We're like, God, this is a crazy movie.
Yeah, it is.
There's lots of nudity. There's lots of blood. And there's some crazy effects.
There are. I really love what this film is about. This film is about a parasite that comes out of the ocean that is a form of life on Earth. He eventually gets into this lady.
It's like a snake.
It's like a parasitic snake creature.
Thing.
Yeah, up her hoo-ha, her business. And basically, it can talk to her at the same time, and
See, I can reach.
Who voices the creature in Baby Blood in the English version, in the English dub? Who voices the creature? This is gonna blow your mind.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
The English, and I'm not saying
Sirius Black.
This is not the ethnocentric mind in me. The English dub of Baby Blood is way better than any other dub. We've watched the French and Spanish dubs. The English dub is so much more serious.
It is, and it's scarier too. And you had mentioned that reading about this film that in many circles it's considered a comedy, but watching the English dub of this film, it's not. What makes it truly terrifying is the fact that this parasitic being tells the female that it has taken up residence in. It says that it is going to be the dominant form of life in 5 million years, so it needs her to carry it, and then it's going to return to the sea from whence it came.
It has a Hellraiser feel to it.
To continue its evolution.
She has to kill people and drink their blood and absorb it to provide sustenance for the baby.
Yeah, it's very nasty.
And when it's born, there's a brilliant ambulance scene when this baby is born.
Yeah, in the ambulance.
And she kills like the EMT in the back and blows him up. Like, and the dude up front is like, oh my god, and then pop, you see like the...
Yeah, she explodes him with like the oxygen and like... it's that honestly, that is ridiculous. I can see how that would be
that's
comedic.
That's kind of cheesy, but you know what? Some of the best horror has the cheese to it.
Absolutely, man.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is a really cool movie. It's a sequel to a movie that is my favorite zombie movie of all time. It's going to be up on everybody's list. Number 3 for us is the film Bride of Re-animator.
They went to a lot of effort to go with Bride of Frankenstein look kind of feel, and they covered her joints in like the cloth, and they gave her like it's Meg. Like they tried he wanted to bring Meg back. He appeals to Dan by saying, I got Meg's heart.
Yeah, the cool thing about this movie is we have Doctors Dan and Dr. Herbert West, and of course Dr. Herbert West did not perish at the end of Re-animator as we initially thought. No, now they are medics in some kind of Central American guerrilla warfare type situation. But it's all a cover for Dr. Herbert West's research to still uncover the secret of eternal life, because that's what that man wants to do. And oh my god, he's not going to stop at anything to get it.
Well, there's a really great character in this that I don't think really is paid too much attention. I think that's the cop.
I thought you were going to say that as soon as you started saying that. Yeah?
I think he's a fun character. I think he's terrible, obviously. He's a dumbass.
The detective guy.
He totally oversteps his bounds.
He's a wife beater, Dan!
He's a wife beater, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, and of course we see the return of the very evil, sadistic Dr. Hill, and of course he's just ahead with bat wings stapled on, and he's flying around.
Hey.
And it's amazing. It's great. Bride Re-animator, while not having the exact same production quality as its predecessor, it's a noble and good sequel.
It's still Brian Yuzna.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It did have a limited theatrical run as well. Unfortunately for me, this was the last of the good Re-animator films.
And the house where they have their lab now, the basement actually digs out into like a graveyard.
For convenience, it's they're located right next to a graveyard, so
That's great for Herbert.
yeah, it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles living next to a Pizza Hut. Yeah.
All right. Number 2 is a Frank Henenlotter film called Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker, woo!
What a crazy movie.
Same guy who did the awesome Basket Case and Brain Damage.
Was Brain Damage the same year?
I don't know. I don't remember that, honestly. I think Brain Damage actually came before Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker starts off wild and ends wild. This guy is he's like a basement backyard scientist who doesn't go anywhere. He's working on stuff, and he's like, "Here, I got."
He ought to be busy shrinking kids.
I made this radio. I made this radio-controlled lawnmower, and it accidentally chops up his girlfriend.
Yeah. Oops.
Her head is still intact. So, what better way to find body parts than use this crack, the drug crack that makes people explode? And he gives it to hookers, and their body parts explode, and he takes their body parts.
Yeah, he's killing. He's using these women.
It's so ridiculous.
He justifies killing them because they're hookers. They're taking crack and destroying their bodies anyway. So he needs to bring back the love of his life. So he gives them this ultra crack. So and it kills them, and he just uses all their parts.
I'm gonna say this, man. They're great actors, though. Like the casting for Frankenhooker is a really great. I think
it's pretty solid.
It's a great decision. I think that she did an amazing job as the hooker, and I think that he did an amazing job as our.
She does.
Yeah, I don't know their names.
Yeah, that's okay. You and I know a lot of names. Sometimes it's okay if we forget some of them. But Frankenhooker has a really lot of cool. Kind of like that. There's different kinds of body horror. To me, there's the Cronenberg body horror, and then there's other people's body horror, and that is the body horror that you find in films like Basket Case and Brain Damage. And since it's made by the same people who made those two films, of course, this film is no exception. The ending of this film, where the little things come out of the fridge and they grab the guy and drag him back into the fridge. One of the things I'm most impressed with, it has a torso, and we had rewatched parts of this film, and I hadn't seen it in years, and I'd forgotten about it. There's this torso that's upside down, but it's like got a mouth, and it's oh man, it's like something out of your nightmares.
It's weird.
So yeah, Frankenhooker is definitely a standout film for 1990.
Well, and too, a lot of the effects in this, they claim, were intentional cheesiness.
Yeah.
For the sheer thrill of, even without blood, they were just meant to be cheesy.
Yeah, this is another one of those movies that, strangely enough, I'll never forget. I couldn't find this movie until I was maybe 18 or 19 again. I had seen this movie, I'm telling you, on HBO or Cinemax. I shouldn't have been allowed to watch it because
there's a lot of nudity.
I should not have been allowed to watch it.
There's a scene where there's 15 hookers in a room.
But I remember the end scene of this film where, spoiler alert, it turns out she's grafted his head onto another Frankenhooker, and he's filling himself up. And he sees that he's a lady now. And that seared itself into my 11-year-old brain. I was like, what is that movie? And then eventually I found it again. Yeah. So Frankenhooker, if you guys have never seen that, you've got to check it out.
Okay, so in a totally different league, in an all other together world, what is the number one movie?
Just to skim off that a little bit, we've talked about these really fun movies for movies number 5 through 2. And now we're at number 1, and you're totally right. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's like Citizen Kane next to all these other movies. Number 1 for us for the year 1990 is a film written and directed by Clive Barker. It's, of course, based off of his novel Cabal. We've actually done an extensive review on it. You should check it out. It is the film
Nightbreed.
Man,
I first saw this on Cinemax.
Yeah,
and I had
I think we all did.
And recently they were able to release the director's cut from Clive Barker, which
within the last couple of years
paints the monsters in a totally different light.
That was when we did our review.
Yeah. And wow, what an effects masterpiece this thing is.
Yeah, Nightbreed is just one of those films that, to me, you can take very seriously.
There's no other way to take it.
Of course, that wonderful, marvelous performance, even though it's very dry, by David Cronenberg as Buttonface.
He's a really great,
I totally bought him.
Nightbreed has a slasher and it has monsters. Mm-hmm. When do you really see that ever again?
You know, not often. It's not often that those two sword points cross.
Like he's a legitimate slasher with a mask and everything. He's got his own lore.
Yeah,
he has a motive. Like, and you're like, wow, this is an established slasher. Wow, we have monsters at Midian.
Yeah,
Like,
and these monsters, the effects, the creature effects in this film.
Doug Bradley is
Yeah, Doug Bradley's in this film.
Loudsburg, and you've got Nicholas
Loudsburg.
Vince.
Nicholas
He's
Vince
plays the Moonface guy.
He's the moon. That's who that is. Of course, he played the Chatterer in Hellraiser. Yeah. This movie just it's almost unparalleled, really. The effects of it. I remember the scene. Yeah, the scene where the guy is he cutting his face and like
he cuts his scalp.
Yeah.
He pulls his scalp off.
Yeah, and of course it looks obviously.
And he's chewing gum.
Yeah, and they're adding they're adding prosthetics to him to make it look a certain way. I've said it 100 times, and so have you, that when you can put makeup on a person, you're adding it, but it makes them look less than what they were. The effect is so wonderful and good.
And you can look at him and tell what's happened, and the true effect is that they have recreated his whole face actually and made it this bit here and built it up by about that much.
Yeah,
and it looks like his real face.
You know, this film, you know, we've said a lot about it already. One of my favorite things about watching this film was when we watched it last, and we did our review, and we kind of got into it at the end of it when we were discussing the morality
whether the girl
of her,
whether the girl was a good thing or a bad thing with her choice of
but you know what, either way you slice it, either way what your opinion is of it when it's over, this is a wonderful, wonderful film. And you know what, I gotta say, I am so pleased.
The music.
The music is wonderful.
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman, of course, wrote the music in this. I love the scene at the beginning too, where it's.
It sounds like Batman.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I don't.
It was 1 year after Batman, and Danny Elfman did it. So.
Yeah, he might have even been doing it at the same time. Who knows? That guy has his fingers in many sinister soups.
It was probably the reject Batman tracks that Tim Burton didn't want.
Yeah, could be, but. You know, 1990, it was a great year for horror, man.
It's because it's like holdover 80s.
That's true.
A lot of these films were filmed in 89.
Well, as we get into 91, 92, into the mid-90s...
It starts to fade a little.
It's going to be a little tougher, but
let's recap. Honorable mention is Predator 2.
Number 5 was the remake of Night of the Living Dead.
4 was Baby Blood.
3 was Bride of Re-Animator.
2 was Frankenhooker.
And number 1 with a bullet was Nightbreed.
I'm Sam.
I'm Evan.
We thank you for coming back and watching us.
Guys, thanks a lot. We've really just... This guy right here has been just so busy.
We made a movie.
Yeah. Well, he let me help be in parts of a movie. He and some other people did all the work. It's wonderful. I hope you guys will get to check it out soon, and he'll have more news about it. So, peace be with you.
See you later.
All right. Bye. Good night.